Hello and welcome to Gin and Cake. Well, good evening, Joel.
Good evening, Sharon.
And welcome everyone to Gin and Cake, episode 8.
Yay!
I know, advanced dough. I don't even know what that really means, but it's what the title said, so we're going with it.
Yeah, well, that's going to be one of my first questions. What makes dough advanced as opposed to basic? But we'll get to that. Plenty of time for that.
Plenty of time. So how are you this evening, Joel?
Oh, I'm fine despite having allergies kicking my ass, which they don't normally do. But this season, it's been different for whatever reason. And I woke up just with the nastiest sinus pressure and blah, blah, blah. But there you go. You just have to deal.
You still sound adorable, I'll say that.
Aw, thank you. Thank you. I hope someone else thinks so, too.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to say, hi, Zachary. Joel knows what I mean. We actually have a fan. We have an actual fan.
Someone tweeted at us. That was really neat.
Oh, Zachary, you're the best. You are our first fan tweet, and we just think you're the bomb.
And if you hear fan noises in the background, my apologies. The Freon that powers the AC unit for my apartment ran out today. So I have no AC right now, just fans, which is, it's okay. It's, kind of putting me into, it's oddly nostalgic because growing up in Northwest Jersey, we did not have AC in the house that I grew up in.
No, you wouldn't, would you? Mm-mm.
Normally it wasn't an issue, except that Northwest Jersey gets really scorching heat waves that can last 2 weeks at a time. So then it was kind of an issue, and you just sort of bear with it until it's done.
Have you considered making a baked Alaska today?
Well, probably it would turn out better than Ian's, so there's that.
Oh, we still love you, Ian.
We will always love Ian. But what has to happen now is I have so many corrections to make for the last episode.
Honey, you go. Get it off your chest.
All right, I need to. This has been bothering me since we recorded this, because about 5 minutes after we stopped recording, I realized how many gaffes I'd made. And I did post corrections to the Facebook page.
Did you?
Yes, but I feel like to really complete it, I need to do it verbally now. This is like confession for me, which I grew up with but haven't been to in decades. So this is as close as I'm going to get.
Okay, go for it. I'm listening.
So we opened by talking about a very interesting chart that I was working on for my day job. And it was Menard's chart of Napoleon's attempted invasion of Russia in 1812. And what I said was that Napoleon started out with a force of 42,000 people. Boy, was I wrong. If you just look at the chart that I was talking about, and which was in front of me at the time, it shows 420,000. So I was off by an order of magnitude, as our friend Brian pointed out to us shortly after listening.
With science terms, an order of magnitude.
Yes, which just means times 10.
Well, but you know what, Joel? If you're going to get something wrong, you should get it wrong.
By 10 times, yes.
Yeah, commit.
Now, I looked up the Wikipedia article on this, and they said that his starting force was actually 680,000.
Youch.
Yeah.
Ouch. That's insane.
And he did end up with about 4% of that number by the end of it.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. Now, what I said was that those losses were not results of actual warfare, because not a shot was fired. Wrong again.
No, Joel.
There were so many skirmishes as they trudged east towards Moscow, and there was one huge battle that resulted in 70,000 casualties.
Oh.
Yeah, absolute horrible carnage. So many shots were fired.
And we thought Antietam was bad.
Yeah. Now, weather did play a part towards the end of it, because at that point, the full-on Russian winter had set in. They attempted to supply the French army, but that didn't work out very well. And also, the Russian army literally scorched the earth as they retreated east, leaving absolutely nothing for the French army to use from the land, and as well as Russian civilians, who I'm sure were just fine with that political decision.
Oh, yeah. Well, suck it, France.
Yeah. They did that day. That's for darn sure.
I will say this about the Russians: when they do something, they commit.
Oh yeah. Literally scorching the earth. What? I guess it worked. It worked in the grand scheme of things, as horribly as it was. Not that I'm condoning such actions.
Now, here's a question. Is that where the scorched earth policy phrase came from?
Oh, that's a good question, and I don't know, but that's a plausible theory.
Zachary, we're putting this one in your lap.
What I do know is that tactic was unknown to the French army. They never anticipated that.
Oh, I can't imagine because, wars wandered all over Europe for a bajillion years. Basically since there was people in Europe, I suppose. Why would you burn your own farm when you were going to walk back across it in, a year or two?
So they were completely unprepared for that tactic, and that's why they tried to sort of jerry-rig a supply line, but it was completely inadequate to the needs of an army of that size.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
See, the only thing I know about Napoleon's army is that canned food was invented for Napoleon.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it's a great way to preserve food.
Well, apparently not enough. What else, Joel?
On to more French stuff. We talked about the wonderful animated series The Tick.
I love The Tick so much.
And in episode 7, they made eclairs as one of the baking challenges. And I said, hey, there was a super heroine named Eclair who was from France in the Tick universe.
Which I did not recall.
Wrong again! She was not from France. She was, in fact, the defender of Antwerp, Belgium.
Ah, the mighty Eclair and their scintillating sidekick, Blitzen, the sworn defenders of Antwerp.
Ah, that's even better.
Yeah, and the fact that they got so specific.
That's so perfect for The Tick, though, really. Antwerp, of all the places.
But I did correctly remember that her abilities were sort of lightning-based, and so that's why she gets the name Eclair, which does mean lightning.
I'm going to forgive that one because,
Thank
you know, Belgium is like France, unless you're Belgian.
Well, yes, it's French adjacent for the rest of us.
French adjacent. That's why we call them French fries, even though they are, in fact, Belgian.
Ah, see, I didn't know that.
They are, yeah. Anything else, Joel?
One more thing.
Damn, you had a bad night, my man.
I really did. I'm going to try to make tonight a better night, but no promises whatsoever.
Oh, no promises, baby.
Now, you asked me about, is there pastry in sci-fi? And I
did.
I thought about it for a while, and I said, yes. There was an episode, the final hour-long episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, where Ro Laren made Hasperat for a new friend of hers.
If you would make the brine for a really strong Hasperat, you would make an old man very happy.
I would enjoy making it again.
Thinking that was a pastry. Nope, because if you actually look at the episode, it comes out looking more like a wrap than a pastry.
Oh, interesting.
And then what I was actually thinking of was Hasperat souffle, which shows up in a Deep Space Nine episode, The Sacrifice of Angels.
You see? Hasperat souffle. Just as I said. Stop poking it. It's very delicate.
Except, of course, souffle is not pastry. So I was wrong on so many counts with that.
Now, I'm going to forgive you on the souffle thing because, spoiler alert, y'all, you're going to have to keep listening as we move on to further seasons because souffle does, in fact, make appearance on the Great British Bake Off.
Mm-hmm. But not technically a pastry, right? Because there's no actual flour involved.
It was not pastry week, but, well, you know what? I can't remember what week it was, so we're going to hold judgment.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll give me a quasi on that one. But about 5 minutes after we finished recording, I texted you and said, wait a minute! I did remember actual pastry in sci-fi, and it was Star Trek The Next Generation, in a late season, like it was season 7 or so episode, where it's revealed that all Picard wants for breakfast is coffee and croissant.
Coffee and croissant. That's all you really want, isn't it? Coffee and croissant.
Well, can we blame him?
You see, I think that breakfast should be a simple meal.
Absolutely not. So, once again, Patrick Stewart comes to the rescue.
Was that the one where he was sitting with Dr. Crusher and they were having breakfast together? Because there are several episodes of that.
Yes. And they make it clear in this episode that that's a sort of a custom that they've developed over the years. And they've been trying very exotic breakfasts, like a Vulcan dish and a Bolian dish and a Tholian dish and a whateverian dish. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh, all you wanted was coffee and croissant all this time. Why didn't you just say so?
Say it to the replicator, because you don't even have to make it.
I didn't think it was important.
Well, yeah. But it's mixed in with his whole other Picard Crusher kind of romance thing. And anyway, pastry does exist in the future. Thank goodness.
At least a croissant. And if you're going to pick one, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. And apparently it shows up a lot in Next Gen, as I found out today researching this. There's an entire Star Trek Wikipedia, well, not Wikipedia, but the Star Trek version of Wikipedia, Memory Alpha, that's what it is.
Memory Alpha. Love Memory Alpha.
Whole page devoted to every instance of croissant in Star Trek The Next Generation, which is like multiple times.
All right. Y'all need to get a life, but we appreciate that you provided in our moment of need.
Now, bear in mind, you're recommending that people get a life, and we are recording a podcast about a British baking show.
I know. See, I shouldn't have said that because I happen to know that today, our recording day, March 26th, is Leonard Nimoy's birthday.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Favorite Spock moment?
Oh, I know exactly what mine is.
Share.
It's an episode, one of the episodes that they made because the set was available to them because it was there for some other project on the Paramount lot.
That's a cost savings.
Oh, it is. And it was like a 1940s, or actually earlier than that, 1920s, 30s Prohibition era set.
Oh, God.
And so they went to a duplicate Earth that was set in the 1920s, 30s, and Spock and Kirk are trying to drive a manual transmission car. And Spock has this moment where he recognizes what the clutch is supposed to be. And he totally kind of breaks character and goes, "Oh, you're supposed to put your foot on that pedal."
Oh, I believe they had a device known as a clutch. Clutch, Captain. Perhaps one of those pedals on the floor.
It was beautiful, and I'm not doing it any kind of justice. He kind of had to go back and relive it. But it's this total non-Spock moment that just makes me laugh out loud every time I see it. It's great. It's great.
I do remember the one that I like, which is Devil in the Dark, which is the Horta episode.
Oh, yeah. No Kill Eye.
I think that episode really just spoke to everything that Star Trek was about. You know, the whole get to know your neighbors and learn to live together in harmony and peace. And
communicate.
Yeah.
Communicate with each other, and then that dissolves conflict.
Yeah. As goofy as that episode was, it kind of spoke the essence of Star Trek. So Spock was integral to that, and I love him for it.
Yeah, that's right. He did a mind meld with the Horta, didn't he?
He sure did. That's how they understood pain.
Waves and waves of searing pain. It's an agony.
Oh, that's right. Oh, well, we should probably start talking about baking and British things.
We should, but I want you to know that for your horrible sins last week, you're going to have to do like 5 Hail Mary berries.
I think I'm okay with that.
I think that's fair.
I can do that. I would praise her day and night.
Because we all do. We're going to talk about that later.
Well, shall we, my dear?
I think we shall. You want me to do a little countdown, or you want to do it?
No, please do. I did it last week.
All right. I just tipped my glass of... What is that?
Oh, what are you drinking tonight, by the way?
Oh, I'm drinking... It's a Pinot Noir, and let's just say it was buy one, get one free. Yeah, whatever.
Okay, well, I'm doing a Jack and ginger, except not ginger ale, proper ginger that I chopped up and muddled into the Jack with some
You are
seltzer.
Fancy pants tonight.
Yeah.
I'm drinking BOGO wine, and you're drinking hand-chopped ginger. God, you're awesome, dude.
You do what you can with what you got.
Well, it's been a bit of a day for me, but that's okay. You know, sometimes you just got to go with the BOGO wine and call it a day.
Absolutely.
All right. And once again, for our fine listeners, we are watching Season 1, Episode 8, Advanced Dough, which is now available to you on Netflix, if you have Netflix, or Amazon Prime, or PBS for purchase. And we are starting at 6 seconds in, right after the PBS logo. So, ready, set, play.
Done.
Oh, and we've got our beautiful ladies back.
Indeed. And here are 5 remaining contestants, which are Richard, Louis, Nancy, Chetna, and Martha.
And let's count that up, folks. We're having a quarterfinal with 5 people. It's like a metric quarterfinal.
There's something very Hitchhiker's Guide about that.
Well, because many people don't understand, 3 people in this show go to the final. It's not between 2.
Okay, that makes the difference.
That is the difference, but I just think that's funny. A 5-person quarterfinal.
Now, I went back to earlier episodes of the season, and the sound effects have always been there in the opening credits, because I was wondering about that last episode.
You were questioning that, and that's interesting. It's just something that I just don't even pay any attention to. I'm so busy looking at the beautiful eggs and the adorable child and the gorgeous Aga.
And the mixer sound is a lot like a Jetsons car to my ear.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that's a genuine mixer sound effect.
I happen to own a KitchenAid, so I'm going to, the next time I pull that out, I'm going to listen and see if they have any similarity whatsoever.
Well, if it sounds like you're in a hover car, then maybe they've been accurate in the show.
So here we are at the signature challenge, and they are to make an advanced dough, which is enriched dough, and it has to be free form, no pans, no nothing. And it has to have, I think they said, fruit in it. It is a fruited bread.
Now, what makes a dough enriched?
Eggs and butter.
Okay, as I guess Paul just said.
So think of like brioche.
Yeah.
Challah.
Okay.
Eggy breads that are not just straight, sandwich loaves. So they're slow because they're heavier. They've got butter and eggs and stuff in them, so it takes them longer to rise. So quite perversely, they've given them not nearly enough time to make any of these things. Why would you do that?
Yeah, that seems like almost sabotaging the challenge.
Kind of, yeah. They got 3.5 hours to make that one last week, the little Queen Amans.
Mm-hmm.
But for a whole huge loaf of bread, they get 2.5 hours? Makes no sense at all.
Huh.
But that's what they're doing, so here we are.
Now, why would you ever use enriched dough? Does it just give the product a different flavor?
I think rich is the key here. It's rich tasting. It tastes more like it's sweeter and a little more desserty.
Okay.
Although often, like a lot of breakfast breads are enriched. They just taste. They have more oomph.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only difference here.
Okay.
So Louie's making something adorable, a little tree.
It is adorable looking, but very, very sweet sounding.
Very sweet. And he's sticking a sugar cube in the middle with alcohol in it, which, pro alcohol always. But his technique is to get the alcohol in, he's going to soak a sugar cube, which will, of course, melt as it bakes.
Yeah.
Not just be like injecting a big puddle of alcohol in there, which will never cook.
Okay.
So it's smart, but yeah, that diabetes again.
Yeah, a little too sweet for my tooth. But now Martha's fruit loaf sounds like more like my speed.
Yeah, it's all plummy and delicious.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Very, very
jam in it.
Christmassy. Yeah, very harvesty.
I love it. And here's Richard. He's making his version of a Chelsea bun, which in America, just think of a cinnamon roll. Like a cinnamon roll with raisins in it. That kind of thing.
Okay.
That's pretty much a Chelsea bun.
Now, Martha mentioned that she's using star anise. Is there a difference between regular anise and star anise?
Not that I'm aware of. They're both licoricey. I think star anise is, it comes in that, it's pretty star little shape.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not aware that they're different.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's the Chinese version? I always think of Chinese 5-spice when I think of star anise.
Okay. Well, she did say that there was a Chinesey flair to what she was making.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, there you go. See, I'm not even watching the show. I might as well just be anywhere. What did she say? What? Something happened? I don't know.
Now, is it Chetna who's making a Croatian bread?
She is. She's making povatica, which is going to be relevant later on in the
Yes,
show.
it will. Yes, it will. And I didn't know a darn thing about Croatia until last October when I was actually there in 2 different locations on that awesome trip that I did.
That's right. You went to the Game of Thrones places.
Yes, both Dubrovnik and Split.
But no povatica for you.
No, but I did have some really excellent bread with a variety of different olive oils, and charcuterie, I think, is the right word for that.
We're going to call it that. Sure, why not?
Boy, oh boy, was it good.
Ah, wonderful. I would like to go there. It looks
You'd
really
love
interesting.
it. You'd love it.
And you think, what was it, 20 years ago? They're having their little war?
Yes.
War. Listen to me. It was a horrible thing.
It was, and the aftermath of it is still visible. There's a lot of stuff that has not yet been rebuilt.
Mm-hmm. Can you walk out in the country? I mean, are you allowed to just wander around in the minefield?
I don't know, because we did guided tours in both cases, although we did walk around the city of Split and Croatia or Dubrovnik on our own. We didn't go very far outside the city, though, so I don't really know the answer to that.
I wonder how much of that country is basically off limits. And here is Nancy microwaving her dough, which sounds insane, but actually it's not completely crazy.
So what does that do?
She's heating it up to activate the yeast and apparently is causing lemons to fall on the floor with her psychic powers.
Okay.
That even happened.
See, it would have been more appropriate for the fruit to fall when she announced that she was using the microwave because that was such a gasp moment.
Okay, that cake on the counter with the little raspberries.
Yeah.
Do you think it's real or is that a prop?
Ooh, I'll bet it's a prop.
Probably a prop.
Yeah, you want to go with props whenever you can with set decoration because anything real is just going to take more time and work.
Well, and it melts. I mean, if it is hot, we don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's using the microwave to speed up her yeast because they haven't given them enough time to rise in a rich dough. So she's taken a shortcut to see if it works. Okay. And Paul, of course, is appalled.
Yes.
Because how dare you? I mean, he has a point. You know, you can overactivate it and break up the proteins and kill the structure. But it sounded like she had definitely practiced this multiple times. So good for her. She's trying something new.
Yep, and I think she said something about 10% power on that.
Oh, yeah, really low. Because otherwise you kill the yeast. You know, you can kill yeast with too hot water. So she wants to keep it alive, but speed them up.
Is 10% power a UK microwave thing, or do American microwaves? Because I do not own a microwave, so I don't know how they measure their temperature.
I forgot you don't own a microwave. And yes, no. They go in I think you can do in 5, so like 10, 15, 20.
Okay.
But I never did because I just full blast everything. I don't use it that much, you know, just to heat stuff up, basically.
Yeah.
I could live without it. Though that's interesting to think. I could live without that.
Well, I think Best Buy will recycle it for you. They'll recycle darn near any kind of electronic appliance.
Well, it's attached to the house.
Well, they might not recycle the whole house, but...
No. You know, if we sell our house, fine. They can take the microwave with them.
Now, the more Martha describes what she's making, the more I want it.
You're a plum fan?
Yes. Plum and dates and walnuts and all those kinds of harvesty things. It's like, that's totally my speed.
It's funny how many of the things that people describe sound Christmassy. So, you know, like I said, they're sort of breakfasty breads, you know, lots of currants and raisins, and they just remind me of the holidays. Yeah. So here's Nancy, who has now just blown up her bread and then sticks it in the proving drawer.
Yeah, and not confident about what she's doing because, I don't know, she just doesn't seem too sure of herself this time.
Not really, and, you know, every microwave's a little different. I could see where you'd be pretty damn nervous about that. But she's trying. And here's Louie commenting that, yeah, now that we're in the quarterfinals, we're getting close to the finals, everybody's pretty quiet.
Yeah, and the music has gotten very tense.
It is. You know, it's funny how much music means to this show. They don't have a lot of themes, but they really are very effective.
Yeah. I mean, music will make or break pretty much anything.
Well, I know you're a soundtrack fan as I am myself. So.
Well, yeah. Now, there is a YouTube clip you can find of the climactic moment in E.T. when he's walking up the rampway back to his friends on the ship. But the person removed the music and put back in the sound effects. And so you experience that scene without the music, and it is so creepy, it does not work at all.
Oh, no, it wouldn't. Absolutely wouldn't.
I mean, Steven Spielberg owes a whole lot to John Williams for making his movies work.
He absolutely. Well, you know, I'm gonna shout out Alan Silvestri, whose birthday it also is today.
Oh, neat.
And if you've ever watched Back to the Future, you know Alan Silvestri. That is his work. But he did Contact.
Oh, terrific score there too.
Oh, beautiful score, stunning. He did Predator, fantastic score.
Fantastic.
And he's now the composer for all the Marvel movies.
Really?
So
I did not
all
know
the
that.
Avenger themes and that wonderful soundtrack to Captain America, the first Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah.
With all of its little 1940s touches, wonderful soundtracks. So.
Oh, he's a talented dude.
He really is. Yeah. He did Castaway, which is absolutely one of my favorites.
Now, kitchen question for you.
Oh.
They're not sure whether or not their bake is done, so they're using thermometers, but how reliable is a thermometer in determining if a bake is actually done? Is temperature enough of an indicator?
Yes. But, you know, when you have, here's the problem with remember when they did the stuffed breads?
Mm-hmm.
You have to put the thermometer in the right place. So if
Okay.
Martha sticks the thermometer in and hits the jammy part, which
Yeah.
could be hotter than the dough because it's all sugary,
Yeah.
you just have to hit it right. But yes, thermometers these days are very accurate.
Okay. Okay.
Now, what's funny, well, we'll talk about it when we get there because they're finishing up and we're not to that section yet. But everyone's breads look pretty.
They do, but the piping on Martha's looks like overdone to me. Like it's almost hard to look at it because there's so much there.
There's a lot going on there. Chetna's, for all of the skill that she put into it, looks a little dumpy. But Louis, of course, looks beautiful. And yeah, Martha's looks a little,
It's a lot. It's a little overstated.
It's the pink.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The plummy version of that icing is just not attractive to me. But I don't care for pink, so there we go. Because I had a pink bedroom as a child and everything was pink, and ever since then I'm just like, nope.
Oh, was it traumatizing?
Apparently, and I guess I chose that. But yeah, pink bedspreads, pink comforters, pink walls, pink, and I just thought, now I have no idea why I did that because I don't care for pink and I don't think I ever did.
Huh. Well, I guess you were testing those waters.
I guess. Well, got right out of there.
Now, I did not have a traumatizing color as a child, but I remember it's one of my earliest memories. Being young enough to still be in a crib. And there was a harlequin as a decoration on a shelf in my bedroom.
Why did they hate you, Joel?
I don't know, but I remember also consciously deciding if I scream and cry, they'll make it go away. And so that was my first attempt, successful, at manipulation, because I screamed and cried and they took that damn thing away.
I just don't care for clowns, but I was never traumatized by them.
Yeah, it's, I can still see it now.
Oh, but I totally feel you. Yeah, no, All those people with that elf on the shelf thing, y'all are sick.
That's so creepy. It's Santa spying on you. Don't make your kids believe that crap.
You are broken people. Get that thing off your shelf. Ugh.
All right, now back to the show.
Indeed. I'm gonna just drink a little bit. Go, you talk.
Now, Louis, I guess, is overly sweet because I think they're actually commenting on that a little bit.
Yeah, but here's Mary Berry and what she's saying. I like it.
Yeah, but Paul was not okay with it.
Oh no, but she likes the sweet. You know Mary.
Yeah.
She's digging it. But the structure of it was beautiful. And I just love that phrase, tear and share.
Yes. And I guess a lot of these breads seem to be of that ilk. Like you would tear hunks of it off rather than slicing it.
Well, and again, here we go. It's a breakfasty, holiday bread that, you want to come in, grab your bun, and move on.
Yeah.
Now, here's Paul complaining about Nancy's. And what's funny, and this one, first he criticized the use of the microwave and kind of predicted what would be wrong with it. And then he gets into the judging and doesn't mention any of those things. So I'm going to say, Nancy, that microwave worked.
Apparently. Yeah.
Nice try, Paul, at criticizing her, but total fail on that.
Now, Richard's looks wonderful.
Doesn't it look yummy?
Oh, yes.
It's so coffee cakey.
Yeah.
And I believe that recipe is in his book, BIY. Bake it yourself. So I need to put that on my list of things to do. Yeah, it's really pretty.
It was totally professional, just really, really well put together.
Oh, yeah, totally would want to eat that. Oh, Mary was like, I want an extra piece. And I love the star. I didn't really notice this until a few episodes ago, but when you get Star Baker, it's a sheriff's star from America.
Really?
Yeah, it's on his little apron.
Ah, that's cool.
It's a straight up out of a cowboy movie sheriff's star.
I wonder who made that choice.
I don't know, but it's cute. And here we are. So everyone got judged. Chetna did well with her Croatian bread. Nancy did okay. It was a little underdone. The others did okay. So, and the tent's so empty.
It really is. Yeah, just those 5 there. Leaves a lot of white space. Now, Paul is the bread dude. How much do you know about his general backstory?
Since we started doing this podcast, I did look him up, so I know quite a lot about his backstory. But his career is pretty much in the family bakery and then hotels.
Okay.
So he's used to producing quickly quality material. So it's very interesting history. Cyprus, I think, was one of the places he worked. He's worked in quite a few places in Europe. So, And I pointed you a couple of days ago to an interview with Mary Berry with the Oxford Union that I found on YouTube, and everybody should watch that.
It was terrific, yeah.
An interview with Mary Berry, which I've learned all kinds of things about her, and what I didn't know until that interview was she pretty much picked him. They chose her as the judge for the show. And she said, I don't know that much about bread. We need a second judge. So they brought in 4 people, one of whom was Paul Hollywood, who was quite well known apparently in Britain for bread. And after she did some tryouts and some on-screen tests with them, she picked him, which I think is just so charming.
It is, and good call because they make a good pair.
They really do. And he definitely knows his stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And what we've just discovered in the technical challenge is that everyone's going to make povetizza.
Yeah, which Chetna made earlier that day, just by coincidence.
She made a variant on the povetizza, and they're going to make a different one, but she has definitely got a serious leg up on this one.
Yeah. And that looks so good.
It's so cool. One big, long rope of rolled up dough with chocolate and walnuts and all kinds of delicious things in it. Baked in a loaf pan.
And it looks much better baked than in its raw form, as we're going to soon discover.
Oh, yeah, no, that looked nasty.
It looks like a...
Let's all look.
Yeah.
So here they all are looking at Chetna like, okay, you've made this. Thank God we at least saw it.
Yeah, she was just overjoyed at that coincidence, and why not?
Why not? You're in the quarterfinal and you've got a leg up. I would be jumping for joy right now. But it's one of those things. You have to make it the way the recipe says to make it, not the way you think it should be made.
Right.
And as always, the recipe has very few instructions, which is annoying. But what Chetna knows is cook it a long time. And nobody else knows that.
Yeah, they get, as we're going to find out, a little bit overemphasized on the proving rather than the baking.
Yeah, well, and I think just laying the darn thing out, because what they're going to have to do here is stretch the dough really thin and big, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that would take a long time to do that right. And again, they've only got 2.5 hours. Why do they have no time to do this?
Well, I guess it's the semi-quarter semi-final, so they got to up the game.
I'm going to say it's about TV and stressing people out.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where the producers manipulate things just a bit.
Now, after I watched the Mary Berry interview, the next thing that came up was the Mary Berry story, in 2 parts.
Ooh!
As narrated by Mel.
How exciting.
And it is fascinating. She has had a heck of a life, including something I'd never noticed before. She contracted polio, which left her a little atrophied and weak on her left side.
I learned that in the Oxford Union thing also, which I found fascinating.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that caused her to go into baking, because that's something she could still do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, she didn't make that connection in the other interview. How fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. And she made a funny comment in the Oxford Union one, because I have noticed this especially in the master classes, which everyone should watch, when she's cooking with Paul. Mm-hmm. You can see that her left hand in particular is pretty gnarled, I would say.
Yeah.
And I just assumed it was arthritis.
Yeah.
Not so. It was an effect of the polio.
Mm-hmm.
She said every time the show's on, she gets tons of advice about how to cure that arthritis she has.
Oh, no. That must get tedious.
But I was fascinated by that.
Although, it's lovely that people are, well-meaning and trying to help her out.
She was utterly charming about it, and, not at all like, oh my God, you should know I have polio. No.
Yeah.
She was just very kind about it. But I just thought that was kind of marvelous that people would write in and be like, I want to help you out.
Now, here the bakers are doing something that would drive me insane. It's two things. They have to roll this dough so thin, and then they have to spread this really thick filling on top of that very thin and very breakable dough.
Yep. That's very difficult. It's kind of like making, like working with phyllo dough almost. So thin and delicate. And then you try to put this big chunky nutty thing in, which will just rip it apart. So Nancy is taking a sort of maverick point of view here. She has microwaved her filling, and she's going to pipe it on. She made it soft and is now piping it on. And Richard is copycatting, which I think is hysterical.
Yeah, and they're going to focus on the fact that he is just mimicking every move that she makes.
Look at this. It's like... For those who aren't watching the show, Richard just happens to be standing at the bench behind Nancy so he can see everything she's doing. Well, and here's Martha.
It's sort of interesting that they put them that close together when they have the entire tent to use now, so they could separate them out more than that if they wanted to.
They could. I wonder if it's just a matter of filming.
I'm thinking that too. It could be a production thing where it's just easier for the crews to not have to run around as much.
It's interesting, though. If it were me, I would want them more spread out.
Yeah, to make it more
just to have
competitive.
More air.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's true. Yeah. Now, Martha came up with a completely different solution that seems to be working really well for her.
She is super pro saran wrap, y'all, or plastic wrap as they call it, or cling film. She made a giant piece of cling film and then rolled her filling out as a single layer and then flopped it onto the dough, which was kind of brilliant, really. Love it. Smart girl. And here's Chetna, who in her experience knows she needs to get that thing in the oven pretty soon. So she's going to prove it for a couple of minutes and then just throw that bad boy in there.
Now, I have to back up a bit. At the 22:15 mark, Sue said, I hope your Croatian loaves don't split. I get that. I get that reference.
I didn't get it until just now you said it. Oh, I love it.
Because Split is a city in Croatia.
Do you think anyone in the tent knew that?
I hope so, but I don't know. I sure wouldn't have, if I hadn't gotten that trip.
Yeah. How many people know Split, Croatia?
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you're European, you have a better knowledge of European.
Probably. Yeah. Again, the U.S. educational system, not real big on geography beyond the U.S. borders.
I'm going to support us on this one, though. I'm not sure how much the UK knows about Eastern Europe.
Okay.
Anything behind the Iron Curtain? Is that something they would really have learned about? Especially people in, say, Nancy or Louie's age group? I wonder. Not that I think that Nancy and Louie are in the same age group, because they absolutely aren't. Nancy is clearly the oldest person in the tent.
Yeah, currently. I guess she inherited that mantle after Diane left.
I think she did. Not because she looks older than anyone else, because she absolutely doesn't, but because we know that she has grandchildren.
Yeah. Now, here's where it looks very organic in the sense of that looks like a used organ.
Yeah, that does not look okay. Yeah. When the thing that they're putting in the tin does not look good.
No.
Kind of creepy. Yeah, got a whole Ridley Scott thing going on.
You're not wrong.
You know what? I'm a biologist. I should take my helmet off and look at this bread.
Sure.
Prometheus, never forgiving you.
Yes, it's obviously threatening me, so I'm going to make nice with it.
Never forgiving that movie.
Such stupid writing in that movie.
It was terrible.
It was gorgeous looking. It's the one time, or one of the few times, I was glad to see something in IMAX 3D, but wow, was it stupid.
However, because they're doing another one, I'm going to go see it, and I'm going to go see it for one reason: Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see if the reviews are overwhelmingly positive. Then I might shell out the dough to go see it. Otherwise,
They're not gonna be positive. Come on, dude.
Yeah, probably not. But you never know. I try to be optimistic about these things.
I've seen the trailer for that film, and there's no way the reviews for that next Alien are going to be positive.
I tend to agree with you, but I will keep an open mind, at least for the moment.
Terrible. But Michael Fassbender plays one of the best androids I've ever seen, so so good.
Oh, he's terrific. He's terrific no matter what he does.
I wouldn't see Assassin's Creed. I didn't say it.
Good. I'll bet that's the case where he was good in it, and he was just surrounded by terribleness.
Isn't Alien Covenant or Prometheus the exact same thing though?
You're right. You're right.
But I couldn't bring myself to go to Assassin's Creed.
Neither could I.
No, it just looked terrible.
Yeah, I guess he had, I don't know, a very expensive vacation to pay or something.
Everyone's got a mortgage, baby.
Yeah.
Well, he's got that, Swedish girlfriend now, you know. You got to keep her in
Oh, does he?
herring.
Okay.
Got to keep her in herring.
All right. Now here, Richard maybe is breaking with Nancy because she's doing something that he is not going to do.
Well, she's doing something completely insane, which is making royal icing, which makes no sense at all. So I'm glad that Richard sort of found himself here and backed off of that.
Now, remind me again what a royal icing is.
Royal icing has egg white in it, so it's when it dries, it's very stiff. So think of like the icing that's on like a Christmas cookie.
Okay.
Where it's really hard.
Yeah.
So why she thinks she would put a really hard icing on a bread is just mystifying. But okay, you do you, Nancy. Everyone else has got this right. They're going to put an egg white wash on that bread to make it shiny. Which is the only reason that you have an egg white. It makes it shiny.
Okay. Doesn't add much flavor?
No, doesn't add any flavor. Egg whites don't really have a flavor. See what he's doing there with a brush? Yeah. Just makes it pretty.
Now, Mel earlier said something in what I think was supposed to be a Croatian accent, which put me in mind of an interesting factoid I learned about the Croatian language, that it became more popular religiously because of, let me get his name right here, Gregory of Nin.
Nin?
Yes, N-I-N.
Huh.
Not related to The Secret of Nim. Totally different, an actual factual person. And there's a fantastic statue of him in Split.
Cool.
It's enormous, and he looks like a wizard.
Yay!
Yes, and he was strongly opposed to the Pope at the time. This is like late 900, or actually 926 or so. And so he was instrumental in having masses said in the local vernacular rather than in Latin. And that
kidding.
Yep, that had a really big cultural impact.
Well, it would, because that's 600 years before Henry decided, he was going to break with the Pope. And Martin Luther felt that masses should be said in the vernacular.
Yeah.
Gregory, way ahead of his time.
Indeed, indeed.
Wow, I did not know that. Well done, Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm. And his statue is right outside the building that was used as the lair for the dragons when Daenerys chained them up for a season or two.
The one they broke out of later.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Well, it's been like 3 years ago, so it's okay.
Good God, seriously. If you haven't watched the last season of Game of Thrones by now, I can't help you.
Yeah.
Can't help you.
And there is no hope for you.
No, not really. So here's a bunch of people waving at their bread with baking sheets because they're desperate to cool them down because they didn't get enough time to make them. Good luck with that, y'all.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to... So the reason they're trying to cool off at least the surface is because they have to put this icing on. And if you put it on when it's hot, it'll melt off. As we saw in the horrible pear debacle. Yeah, the pear pies.
Now Louis's getting extra fancy with his piping.
Well, as always, because he's Louis. You know what? I think the lopsidedness of this bread is upsetting him.
Yeah.
It's so not clean or cool looking as his bakes always are.
And so what would have caused that lopsidedness?
Well, it's just the way you put the rope in. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's just the bread. Even Paul's was like, had a huge side and a small side. Oh, Mary's like, they look okay.
That's a kind of faint praise from her. But now to my eye, they all look pretty similar.
They look pretty good. But Mary, yeah, she did the grandma thing when you bring her some art that you made when you were 4 years old.
It's like, well, that's lovely, dear.
Look what you did. That's a very common phrase around here. Look what you did. You worked really hard on that. As a parent, you learn these phrases really quickly.
Yeah.
Now, see, I think Louis looks pretty good, I have to say. It's undercooked, but it's really pretty.
It looks a lot like the showcase one we were shown earlier in the episode.
So here's Nancy's with her royal icing, and it's like, that is definitely much shorter than the others. It looks sad. Sad.
And Paul predicting it's going to be raw.
Yeah, see, the royal icing just pops right off. Terrible choice. I don't know what she was thinking.
Oh boy.
And it's raw. Ooh. This is the first time I've ever heard Paul say, I don't think you should eat that.
I took note of that as well.
There was never a moment where they didn't eat something.
And the problem there would be, what, raw eggs and getting salmonella?
Oh, yeah, you just don't want to get sick from eating raw dough that's like half cooked, especially if it's half cooked, because now it's all the bacteria been kind of heated up.
Oh, okay. Because I eat raw cookie dough like pretty much every time I make chocolate chip walnut cookies, but it's not half baked at that point.
Maybe that's the American in us, man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just live the dream. And there's Chetna, who is not even remotely hiding that that's her bread and she's relieved.
Yes.
And it was cooked. Chetna had it right. Big surprise. Martha's is completely raw. Oh, that's gross.
Yikes.
Paul sticks a knife in it and pulls out just basically liquid dough. That's gross.
And Martha and Chetna just horrified.
Ugh, nasty. Yeah, don't eat that. And here's a pretty one with icing. It's Richard's. It looks... Mary calls it drunk because it's lopsided. And it's raw. What a surprise.
Yeah.
So let's see. 3 were completely raw. Louis was close to raw, and Chetna got it right.
Yeah, such a tough challenge.
See, that makes me think of the person who made this as the tester, whatever her name was. She must have either practiced this a lot or got lucky. Got super lucky. Because there's no way you should have been able to make this bread in 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's just not very fair.
I protest. Last place, poor Martha. Yeah, okay, it was liquid. Come on. Fair enough.
And she didn't do great the first round either.
Yeah. Now, see, I'm a little surprised that Richard came in behind Nancy. Hers looked terrible to me. But okay, whatever. Louis came in second, and who's gonna win? Chetna. Good job, Chetna. Who, of course, made it that morning.
And as she says, if she hadn't come in first, that would have been really embarrassing because she had basically made this earlier in the day.
No, she did a good job. And has she ever come first in technical?
I don't think so.
Well, no time like the quarterfinal. Oh, nope, she said it was the first time. Yay, good job, Chetna.
And honestly, I think Nancy was just very glad to not be in last.
Well, as she should be.
Yeah.
She says, I'm not going to put my hand up if I was in last place. I'm pretty sure they would have figured out it was you. I'm not sure you could have hit that forever.
I like her moxie.
I do too. God bless her. Have you been watching her 365 Days of Nancy?
I haven't yet.
Quite a varied range of stuff, but super fun. And I learned how to iron black jeans, which I don't own, but is useful information nevertheless.
Is it different from ironing blue jeans?
Inside out, dude.
Oh, why?
Because it keeps you from getting the white marks. You know, when you iron and you get those kind of shiny white marks?
Yeah.
If you do it inside out, it's not on the fabric.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yes. I was like, duh. That's brilliant. I didn't even think about it.
Donuts. Is there any way to make them other than frying them?
You can bake a donut. The only ones I've ever seen baked have been in like a donut mold.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never really... The only donuts I ever remember making were the ones I made with my mom when I was very small. And I don't know who out there has done this, but you take like Pillsbury biscuits, you know, from the pop can.
Uh-huh.
And she had a little donut holder, so we would chop out the middles, and then you take the biscuit and you put it in hot oil. And it makes the most delicious donut.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy. It doesn't taste like you think a donut might taste.
Uh-huh.
But I love those things. Thanks, Mom. Those
Aw.
were good.
Your mom is so cool.
It was the weirdest thing. My mom is cool. My mom is awesome. She is a fine cook and a good baker. And she just came and borrowed her bunt pan back. She gave it to me. And this thing, I don't know how old that thing is, but she needed to make a cake. So we trade it back and forth. But in smart mom way, she's gotten me to store it for her. And I think that's brilliant.
She's making use of her offspring. I can't fault her for that.
As you should. As you should. When you get to be, I think she's 76 now.
Oh, wow.
People should be storing stuff for you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why do you have kids, honestly?
Indeed.
I also have her, I think you've had my angel food cake, the lemon angel food cake.
Oh, yes. It's wonderful.
That only works because I have her old angel food cake pan.
Ah.
All the new ones now, explain this to me, have non-stick interiors, which is stupid because that means the cake slides out of the pan. That makes no sense at all.
Now, are they non-stick and are they like the silicone variety or is it something else?
The ones I've seen have been metal, but hers is just an old, plain, it's a tin or aluminum. And so the trick with an angel food cake is you have to put it upside down. It's got little feet on it on the top. Mm-hmm. And you turn the cake upside down so that it stays puffy while it cools. Otherwise, it'll sink on itself because it just doesn't, it's so light. And hers is just old and perfect. And all the new ones I've seen suck. They're the worst. Get thee to the Salvation Army. Get yourself an angel food cake pan that's used. You'll be so much happier.
That's another case of something getting upgraded only to make it worse.
Agreed. Yeah, no. I have not seen a single good one out there. So just get an old one, y'all.
Now, Louie is making cocktail donuts, which is intriguing, but man, does that sound cloying to me.
It sounds cloying. Yeah, so he's got like a coffee and Bailey's one, and I don't remember. What's the other one? It sounded really sweet.
Mojito.
Mojito, yes. So lots of lemon. And then, or lime. And then Nancy's making limoncello stuffed, which yummy. And here's Richard. So he's making toffee apple donut, which again, why are they all so sweet?
Yeah, well, is it that the basic donut is so bland and blah that you have to really bling it up with flavor?
I guess, but why sweet flavors, I guess is my question. Wouldn't savory donuts be kind of interesting?
Well, I actually had that in my notes. Is there such a thing as a savory donut? Like, could you make an English breakfast donut with sausage and egg and whatnot?
Never had a savory donut, but I don't see why you couldn't. I mean, I think that would be kind of brilliant. There's an untapped market here.
Yeah.
Because people love donuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're always so just sickeningly sweet. We talked about this, I think, in the last episode. And, one and done. I just can't take it.
Yeah. You don't want to get a whole box of voodoo donuts. Or what's the name of the other one?
Blue Star.
Blue Star, yeah.
Yeah. Go to the Blue Star.
The arch nemesis of voodoo donut.
I guess so. I don't know. So here's Nancy talking about she's going to make adult and children donuts, and the children's donuts will have faces on them that apparently are going to look a lot like Paul.
Okay.
Whatever conversation those two have between each other, fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I don't understand why nobody has a Pillsbury can. This is not donut making to me. This is not how you do it.
I think Paul and Mary might frown on the whole Pillsbury can thing,
So here's Mel. She's holding Louie's giant tray of glasses, and she needs to put that down.
That's a lot of accident waiting to happen.
Oh, man. Can you imagine if she dropped it? There have been more than one incidences in these programs where Mel and Sue have kind of screwed people up. Not so much in this series, except when they ran off with Diana's chocolate mousse that one time.
Oh, right.
But in other series, there have been some moments. So Yeah, you need to put the glassware down, sweetheart.
Yeah, but I'll take those moments in exchange for all of the good exchanges that they have with everyone.
Yeah, to their credit, the few times where they've really screwed somebody up, I've never seen them not cop to it.
Yeah.
They don't pretend that it didn't happen. Oh, and here's Louis making his
commenting on the darts.
Beautiful sticks of what looks like raspberry and mint, I guess.
And now Sue said that she'd like to get up to the Aki with that. So I had to look that up because that was new to me too.
Get up to the what?
The Aki. O-C-H-E is how it's spelled. She said, I'd love to step out on the Aki with those. So I had to look it up, and according to Wikipedia, the Aki is also the throw line or toe line in the game of darts.
Interesting.
So it's the line behind which the throwing player must stand.
Interesting. Now, we know some dart players. I wonder if they know that as Americans or if that's just a British dart thing.
I'm guessing it's a British dart thing.
All right. We're going to ask our buddy Brian.
Yeah.
Does he know what the Aki... Well, he knows what it is now because you've told him.
That's true, but he's an honest person, so I think that if he didn't know it ahead of time, he'll be forthright about that.
You think Brian's an honest person? I'm just going to say, you don't stick around for game night long enough. Oh, I'm kidding.
When it comes to facts, yes.
Fair enough. Yes, Brian is the king of factual information. I bow down before his superior knowledge.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, Brian.
Now, this one is not nearly as complicated a baking challenge, I need to stress, as the previous one. So the challenge is coming from the other aspects of it, I guess.
Yes and no. I mean, you have to get the good rise. And of course, Martha's completely freaking out because she overrose her donuts. When she took them out of the proving drawer, they basically were already collapsing because she had already overproofed them.
Okay, so it was a case of they expanded beyond the point of having structural integrity?
Correct. So the minute she took them out, they were falling down on themselves. So now she's trying to figure out how to get stuff in them because they're flat.
Okay.
You can see the one in her hand. Should be a big puffy round like Nancy's were.
Yeah.
And now she's just trying to put enough filling in to basically hold them up.
Okay.
They're a total fail.
Okay.
Yeah. But everyone else's look pretty good.
But honestly, Chetna's look about, and look at Louis. They seem to have the same rise as...
Oh, yeah. No, those are all good looking. They're all good looking. And so he's putting straws in them, which takes us back to the syringe thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
I want to like it, but it's just so weird. Yeah. And so he's putting Baileys in the straws.
Yeah, does that give him kind of an unfair advantage in putting a yummy alcoholic drink in with his baking? Because he didn't make that Baileys.
It's his choice, though. I mean, it's an ingredient, I suppose, like any other. But even he was admitting it's a little gimmicky. Okay. Yeah. No, you're totally right about that.
I mean, so he certainly has the stuff to back up his baking chops, so...
Well, and it's still how the donut tastes. It's not about how the Baileys taste.
True. Okay, so the Paul donuts have blue eyes. I guess that's the Paul connection.
Yes, they do. So Sue was pretending happy Paul and sad Paul or angry Paul. Although we use angry loosely because Paul's never angry.
Oh, yeah. He's been stern at times, but never angry.
Slightly grumpy.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Martha knows I feel like she's given up a little bit here.
Yeah, well, the first two rounds were not great, especially the last one with completely raw dough. And she knew she had to completely nail it, and that clearly has not happened.
Yes, and I love Richard sitting there eating his own donuts. That's confidence, my man. And here are his little heart-shaped rhubarb and custard, which, yummy. Sounds so good. And then the caramel apple ones just look sickly. I wouldn't eat that. But he made his little donut boxes out of orange boxes. How cute is that?
Very cute. Very charming.
Bless his heart. I always say that every time. Oh, bless his heart. I never say that anywhere but this podcast.
Well, that's a testament to the podcast and to the show.
It's the show. It's the show. Just bless your heart. You're just so sweet. Everyone's so sweet.
God love you.
Oh, yeah, though. That caramel apple just looks sick. I mean, sickly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's delicious as donuts go, but this is just not my thing.
Oh, Mary's all about it.
Yeah, her eyes got very wide right there.
She loves the sweets. She's like my mom. She loves the sweet stuff.
And, we focus on Paul's eyes. Mary's eyes are beautiful as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, she really is marvelous. All right, so here's Nancy's, and she's got adult donuts with limoncello, which sounds pretty good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then children's donuts hanging from like a little tree. Kind of cute, though.
Yeah.
A little overcooked, but not too bad. The limoncello, yum. That's my sister's, younger sister's favorite alcoholic beverage.
Oh, really?
Well, she loves Venice.
Okay.
Venice is her town.
Okay.
We just had this conversation recently about where have you been where you felt like you were completely at home besides where you live?
Yeah.
And for her, it was Venice. Do you have one? Where have you been where you just thought, this is it?
Oh.
Anywhere?
Well, Baltimore became that for me after a few weeks of living there.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I cleaved to that city very quickly for some reason that I cannot explain.
Fascinating. Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that in Scotland. When we got on the plane, it was that moment of, why am I getting on the plane?
Yeah.
I should just live here.
Yeah, well, maybe you should.
Well, it's on the list. Come on, Scotland. Still waiting for that indie ref too.
Yeah, we'll still be able to Skype, if you're over there.
We can record anywhere. This is the beauty of the 21st century.
Indeed.
There's Martha's, and they look terrible.
Yeah.
Just awful.
At least it sounds like she got the flavors okay.
Yes. Isn't that interesting? That they can taste okay, but they're just not donuts, basically.
Yeah.
And here's Chetna's, which look really oily. Kind of like super greasy, like a braid. No, yeah, there we go. There's Mary. She's like,
Very fatty.
Mary doesn't like fatty.
So what do you imagine caused that? Were they over fried?
Or the oil might have been at the wrong temperature. It depends on, like fried chicken. If you put it in at the right oil temperature, it will pick up actually very little oil. It doesn't have to be greasy.
Okay.
But that's largely related to the temperature of the oil. So they were sort of middling on hers. Mm-hmm. Pretty middling. Not very complimentary.
Now, here come Louie's.
So we've got the little raspberry ones. And he, unlike most people, decided to put his jelly in on all four sides. You get lots of jelly.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting technique, but you end up with the kind of oozy holes. It's a little disturbing. Especially when you're using a red jelly.
Well, yeah. Yes.
It's weird to me.
Bad imagery for eating.
It really is. Gross.
Well, Paul's impressed.
Paul cut two open just to be sure that he hadn't gotten lucky on just one.
And he said he's made many, many, many donuts in his baking career. So I would imagine he would be very difficult to impress in this round.
Okay, let's all look at Mary's face right here. All you need to do is give Mary a sip of Bailey's and she's a happy, happy woman.
And again, I sort of take issue with that because it's not about the Baileys. That shouldn't even be a factor.
I agree with you. Because here's Paul cutting one open. He says, it's not really, they're overstuffed. They're a little wet.
It's like, if you served a baking challenge with a really good cup of coffee, should the coffee factor into the judging at all?
Fair enough. I'm gonna totally agree with you on that. However, watching them all cheer with a cup full of donut is pretty cute.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun.
And now we're judging, and who does Paul reach for? He reaches for the rhubarb heart that Richard made. He is digging on that donut.
Yeah.
It's really cute, though. I mean, I would try that because I think the rhubarb, that nice sour flavor, it would be nice against the cream, I would think.
Yeah, they could offset the sweetness at least a little bit.
I'm not sure that's in his book, but maybe. Might be. Oh, and here's Louie. Yeah, Mary's like, give me the Louie one. Her love of alcohol is a as always, a running theme through this show, although the idea of Mary over-drinking at all or overindulging in anything is just ridiculous to me.
I agree.
Model of moderation. Look at her.
Paul, maybe not so much, but Mary, yes.
Paul's indulged. We all know Paul's indulged. Although apparently his biggest indulgence is fast cars, race cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he loves racing cars.
Oh, yeah, Mary did mention that in the interview. Someone asked her, what she knew about Paul, right?
Yeah, and if you follow his Twitter or his Instagram, it is all about, like, really fast cars. So, okay. And bread.
Okay.
Well, you got to go with what you love. And here is the quarterfinal judgment. They're all sitting there wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah, though one of the more predictable outcomes of the show, I think.
I think so. But who will be Starbaker is the question. And guess who it is? It's Richard for the 4th time.
Fantastic.
And Louis gets him the handshake and he gets to keep his little sheriff star. It's so cute.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Poor Sue. Now she has to... This has got to be a tough one because, they all love the person who's about to be eliminated.
I don't blame them because she's adorable.
She is. And she knows. She knows.
It's Martha. She's 17.
It's
I still can't
amazing.
believe that. She did all of this and she's 17 years old. My biggest accomplishment was like graduating from high school and, not pooping myself on the way up to get the degree.
Hey, those are fine accomplishments.
Well, small goals, man, small goals. And here is Martha, and she just looks wonderful and happy to have been there, even though she's crying. Nobody wants to go home.
Yeah.
However, in her defense, I'm going to say that Martha has a book out. It's called Twist. And it's about just sort of upping your bakes with interesting ways to twist them, if you will. And she has a second book coming out in July called Crave. Which is going to have a variety of recipes, some of which take a long time, but some of which you can be done quite quickly. So it's a fun variety. And she's got a website, bakingmartha.co.uk, which is very charming. Lots of good recipes on there.
Well, good. Now, Crave, that's a name that I would normally associate with a club.
Crave?
Yes. But I'm sure Martha can make it. I'm sure Martha can make it work as a cookbook.
I think she absolutely will. I think she will. She also does a lot of charity work. So I'm going to just applaud her in every conceivable way because she has turned this show into some really, really worthwhile causes.
Oh, terrific. Terrific. That is so cool to hear.
Love her. And everyone else shall go on to the penultimate episode, episode 9.
Patisserie.
Dun, dun, dun.
Isn't this all patisserie? And if it's not, then I don't know what that word means.
Patisserie is basically pastry, but it's French pastry, so it means complicated.
Okay.
Think complicated pastry. Napoleons, opera cakes, lots of intricate detailing. That's patisserie. So it's French pastry.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
I wonder if Menard's chart explains why Napoleon had a pastry named after him.
Interesting.
There's 6 other kinds of data on that chart, so I would not put it past him.
It's about pastry. Oh, the pastry chart.
Mm.
Where is that chart? We need to see that chart.
It is, yeah. Well, the actual chart is now on our Facebook page in my response to your post of the episode. The Menard pastry chart, though, might take a little bit more digging.
But maybe not. Maybe it's just the layers of failure that Napoleon experienced.
I think you're onto something.
I don't know. Although, let's be honest. The Russian campaign was pretty much his big failure. It was all downhill from there. That and Waterloo. Okay, Waterloo was bad. But, yeah, mostly very successful guy. You've been to Paris. You've seen the Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, yeah. It's an impressive structure.
Every side of that monument is covered with the names of battles he won.
It's the failure. The failures are easier to remember, though, I guess.
I think in his case, they were so monumental that, they're hard to forget, as opposed to, that fight we won in that town on the top of a mountain, which didn't mean all that much.
Next week on French History Cast, we're going to be going with patisserie.
There's a lot of French history in patisserie.
Yeah. I'll bet.
As we roll down toward the end here, everyone, please go listen to that Oxford Union conversation with Mary Berry, because she has a long conversation about why she thinks of herself as a cook and not a chef. And I thought she had a lot of really marvelous things to say about creating recipes that people can actually do, that practicality of it all. She makes marvelous things, but she never forgets that it's actually people cooking the food. And I just really admired that about her,
She's a lady who's lived a life and continues to do so. It's very, very encouraging and very emulation worthy.
Agree. She's enjoying her life, which I think is terrific.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get, well, even our age or older, you just forget to live a enjoyable life. We all get into the routine of things, and we forget that it's short, so you might as well enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, it's time to move on to the end of this podcast, I think.
It is indeed. Everyone, we will see you again 2 weeks. I always say that. Next time, 2 weeks, for patisserie. And
indeed.
In the meantime...
Looking forward.
What?
I keep talking over your
lines. I'm just blathering on because I'm sitting here drinking the BOGO wine. This is what happens.
Well, it lasted this long, so it can't be too terrible, I guess.
And I have nothing left for me now because I've reached the end of Man in the High Castle, and I'm just sad and bereft.
Oh, no. Well, there's always something else on Netflix, I'm sure. And another bottle of wine, hopefully.
Well, there's two because it was BOGO.
Will you enjoy that, Sharon?
I sure will. Enjoy your ginger and, what is it? Whiskey?
I forget now. Something good.
Ginger and Jack.
That's it.
From the cruise ship. All right, everybody. We're just going to sign off. This is probably best.
I think so. Bye-bye.
Bye, Joel. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye, everybody.